Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of On the Table Podcast, where everything is on the table and nothing is off limits. So, what we have here is three articles. I was going to do a another episode of the old articles. However, I noticed that most of those articles are really, really long, and I really don't feel like reading a really long article. So I figured I'd go ahead and try and find a few new articles. So I have over on the On the Table Podcast official Discord server, we do have a couple links. I'm going to try and expand that as time goes on. Two different news sites. So we have one from BBC, of course. That's going to be kind of our worldwide. Sort of they'll cover us in the UK as well as worldwide for the most part. And then we have one from Florida, Hawaii, and one from California. And we'll grow that. I want to do one from every state in the United States, and then I want to try and do at least one from every country, around the world. At least ones that are in English, because I cannot read, write, speak, or understand any other language. I can barely do that of my own. Anyway. So we have three articles, one from the BBC, two from WFLA, that's going to be one of Florida's news sites. So one is very short, and then the other are of decent length. The longest, I think, is going to be from the BBC here. So we're going to end on that one. So we have the curious case of kangaroo spotted in India. That's me on the BBC. We have newspaper delivery man struck, killed by own vehicle, FHP says. That's going to be by WFLA. And then we have the McDad, pregnant Lakeland woman arrested after tantrum working at McDonald's. So there is a video here, but we're not going to play that. Basically, for those who do not know, we have started a YouTube channel. There will be some podcasts that will be just, on whatever podcast platform. There will be some podcasts that will be, on just the YouTube channel. Those will be titled exclusive, because you'll only find them on the Tale Podcast official YouTube. And there will be some that will be found on both, so you can hear the audio on any of your favorite podcast listening platforms, or you can go and watch the and read the articles along with me on the official On the Tale Podcast YouTube channel. So this is one that's a mix of both. That's why I'm not going to play the video. And for those that are exclusive, if there's a video, we are going to play it. So obviously I don't own any copyright links or sources are obviously in the video, and I'll try to link them below. But if they're not linked below, they're definitely going to be in our Discord server. I have every article. Once it is read, it is in a public chat that y'all can see, so you can go back and read it if you want. So let's go ahead and let's start with the shortest of the two. We're going to go short, medium, and long. So it's going to be from WFLA, written by Dylan Abad. That was on May 22nd, 2022, at 6:24 p.m. EDT. It was updated 20-some minutes after that. So it is currently, at the time of recording this, May 23rd. Just turned May 23rd, by the way. It's like 12:05 a.m. So it's midnight. So this is pretty recent. Okay, so there is an article we see right here that I actually kind of want to look at, that we're going to possibly save for another date and time. That one does look interesting. Anyway, let's get on with it. And again, I do apologize if I mispronounce any names, any people, places, or things. That is most likely going to happen throughout all episodes, probably. So here we go. Newspaper delivery man struck, killed by own vehicle, FHP says. Sumter County, Florida, a newspaper delivery man was struck and killed by his own delivery van early Sunday morning, according to a report from the Florida Highway Patrol. Troopers said a 76-year-old man from Martinez, Georgia, was delivering newspapers along Oak Bend Place in Sumter County around 5:45 a.m. when he stopped his Chrysler van and began to exit the vehicle. Having failed to place the van in park, it began to roll. Troopers said an open door then struck the man, who fell to the ground and died as a result of his injuries. Authorities did not immediately release additional information. So that's literally as far as it goes. Okay. That's sad. I mean, that's a 76-year-old man. He was most likely retired just doing that for fun, or maybe he wanted to have fun, maybe a little bit extra income, maybe something else to do. Maybe he started, delivering newspapers back as when he was a kid. When he was a young boy, and he and he wanted to do that again. You know what I mean? I feel like 76. Obviously not 76 years ago because he was just born, but I imagine about 70. 6-7 years ago. That probably been one of the main jobs as you get as a young boy was delivering newspapers. So maybe he was doing that. I'd imagine. But also the fact that I know not a lot of people, at least in my area, not a lot of people want to deliver newspapers nowadays. I remember one place that I worked at for like a good solid week or two, we just stopped getting the newspaper. Like at first would be late. It typically comes around between 3 and 4 in the morning. Typically close to the 3 a.m. mark. I work overnights, by the way. You just can't tell me you're recording this podcast at midnight. So that's when it typically comes between 3 and 4 a.m. Again, typically close to the 3 a.m. mark. And then we'll start getting late. A little bit 4, 5, 6, 7. We're off at 7. I think one day it came in the afternoon. And then all of a sudden it just stopped for a good solid week or two, maybe even 3 weeks. And then it just started again. We just randomly started getting the newspaper again. So me and my partner, we talked about, okay, maybe they just stopped ordering the newspaper. Who knows? But yeah. So 76-year-old man. It does not say his name. I wish it did. Thank you for continuing to do the little jobs that nobody really wants to do. Nobody realizes how every job is important, right? Every job is important. So by delivering newspapers, you're kind of getting, obviously you can go online, you can read, the articles, but there's something about the feel of a newspaper and just sitting there and you're reading it. And I haven't read a newspaper in years. I've not had time to do much of anything as of late. But I'm not opposed to reading a newspaper. There's something different about reading something in your hands and just flipping through it, versus, looking at it online. I obviously look at this online because it's a lot more convenient. But, again, I'm not opposed to looking at a newspaper. So thank you for continuing to deliver newspapers. I don't know how long you've been delivering newspapers, but thank you, and condolences go out to his family. His friends and family, and coworkers. I'm sure coworkers and colleagues that he liked and liked him. But I'm gonna guess he hit his head because he's 76. Typically, the older people are going to be prone to injuring easier. Because it said the open door then struck the man, who fell to the ground and died as a result of his injuries. So I'm going to guess he hit his head. I can't imagine he got run over. By the time he hit the ground, the car would have passed him. Or at least a tire anyways. I don't know. So I can't imagine if it's rolling backwards, it wouldn't have cut him because it wouldn't have had enough force. Now, maybe the car did run over. I don't know. I wish it would give more details. So if I come across an article of with more details to it, then obviously we're gonna go ahead and do that. But yeah, so thank you, man, for delivering newspapers for however long you are at the end of your life, if you're at the beginning of life as well, at any point in time. Maybe for however long you deliver newspapers throughout the course of your life, and whatever other important jobs you had. Thank you, man. We appreciate you. So that's gonna be that article. Now let's go ahead and listen into McMad. Pregnant Lakeland woman arrested after tantrum twerking at McDonald's. So then we have this is by also by Dylan Abad. So we have Polk County, Florida. Deputies arrested a Lakeland woman who was caught on camera having an outburst at a McDonald's Thursday, according to the Polk County Sheriff's Office. Tiana Jones, 22, of Lakeland, is facing several charges after deputies said she stormed inside the fast food restaurant around 5:30 p.m. and became enraged after her online order was messed up. When employees tried to de-escalate the situation by offering a discount, Jones turned violent and walked behind the counter where a security camera caught her throwing cups at employees, Polk Sheriff Grady Judd said. Oh, man, I want to watch that. I love, big shout out to Grady Judd. All right, let's just stop for a second. Let's give a massive shout out to Sheriff Grady Judd. I wish we had you everywhere, man. I mean, you're probably not listening to this, but massive shout out to you, man. I love Sheriff Grady Judd. I'm from Virginia, and just having him, I'm not kidding. I watch the news conferences. I see that he's doing, and I know that every, every sheriff and chief and they do their jobs, and most law enforcement officers do their jobs to keep people off the streets that shouldn't be on the streets, or to get people off the streets and keep them off the streets that should not be on the streets, and to keep us safe. I get that. One thing I love about Sheriff Grady Judd is he covers everything. Every operation they do, every arrest they, well, not every arrest, but most arrests they make, he does his best to go and make sure that the public is aware of the crimes that are being committed in the area, and the results of the investigations. I mean, he really goes out of his way to make sure that one, they know that they are safe from these criminals. That okay, these whatever people have been arrested, or that this investigation is going underway. And also let the criminals know that he does not stand for for criminals, and his team is fantastic, which they are. And I think he does a wonderful job, from what I could tell, working with other agencies, and that's the way it should be. Having friends in law enforcement, I know that some not agencies. I'm sorry. Oh yes, agencies might be the correct term, and also might not be. More like counties, localities. I'm still call them agencies because they're still. Anyway, they work well together. But what I know from again, my friends in law enforcement, not all counties and jurisdictions will get along together, which is sad because they're all on the same team. But anyway, I digress. So big shout out to Sheriff Grady Judd. And with all that, I just wanted to say, a point of that was me saying I live in Virginia, and watching your news conferences, honestly, no joke, I laugh because it's kind of funny how true it is, makes me feel safer. You are several states away from me, and you being out there and protecting the people of Polk County, Florida, makes me feel safer. I don't know how, but just watching you just makes me feel safer. I don't know what it is, man, but if you end up watching or listening to this podcast episode, big shout out to you. Thank you for all you do, as well as thank you to all law enforcement officers and other first responder personnel, including dispatchers. Yeah, that big shout out to everybody there that does their job and that actually wants to work and do those jobs. I know I cannot imagine those jobs are easy by any means. So let's go ahead and let's get on with this article. Sorry. I don't know why this woman got as angry as she was. But as the saying goes, she's a few fries short of a Happy Meal, Judge said during a Friday afternoon press conference. Deputies said a family member tried to pull Jones out of the store, but the woman instead called 911 to complain about her botched order. I'm 5 months pregnant, Jones can be heard telling a 911 operator. These people don't know how to run a McDonald's. Also in the podcast, I'm gonna guess. These people don't know how to run a motherfucking McDonald's. I think that's what it would be. I can't imagine anything else. I mean, deputy said the commotion lasted lasted roughly 10 minutes before Jones's relative and another woman convinced her to leave the store. As she walked out, Judge said Jones was caught on camera lifting her shirt and twerking at the employees. Her actions were outrageous, especially for a place where small children often visit, Judge said. And she caused about $100 in damages since the items she threw on the floor can't be used for customers. There were no serious injuries during the incident, but Judge said Jones became a McBurglar when she walked behind the counter and threw several cups. She didn't get her Happy Meal, or fish sandwich, or chocolate shake, or her sweet tea, but she did manage to get herself in a lot of McTrouble, Judge said, adding she would not get the golden arches when she was booked in the county jail, but we were going to give her a pair of silver handcuffs. Judge said deputies in Polk County don't put up with that McJunk. Jones is facing charges of burglary with assault, criminal mischief, disorderly conduct, and misuse of 911. Okay, so that's another thing I love about Great Judge. It slipped my mind, so I don't know how. Well, it slipped my mind because I'm going to show you. So another thing I absolutely love about her. Sorry. Another thing I absolutely love about Sheriff Grey Judd is he is so quick on these little things. I'm sure before the press conference, he's sitting there, taking as much time as he can to come up with these little McTrouble, McBurglar. McBurglar was obviously the, back in the day. You can look that up anyway. But I just love how he comes up with these little puns and stuff, and it just works him so smooth. And I mean, and sometimes how funny as can be, these little sayings, little puns. It's like it's great. It adds a little bit of comic relief, especially in serious situations. I think that's another reason that I feel kind of safe is because I hope that the Polk County folks do as well. Because he's some serious situations, but he kind of lightens the mood so it's not so heavy. You know what I mean? He just has this bright energy that I can feel all the way up here from Virginia. I love Sheriff Grey Judd. Honestly, if I had the money, I would probably move my entire family down to Polk County, just so I could have Polk County, or so I could have Sheriff Judd in charge of the law enforcement in my area. I'm just saying. No disrespect to law enforcement in my area by any means, but yeah, that's just So oh, okay, that one right there. We'll look at that later. All right, let's see. All right, we got just enough for the curious case of kangaroo spotted in India by BBC News. That's going to be written by Andrew Clarence, and it was posted 3 hours ago. Alright, when villagers walking along a road on the edge of a forested village in eastern India first saw 3 confused, weak, and hungry animals, they couldn't believe what they were witnessing. The animals looked like nothing. The animals looked nothing like anything they had seen before. They alerted West Bengal State's forest officials, who told them that the animals were kangaroos, native to Australia but not found in India. Until now. The animals were rescued and sent to a wildlife park to be treated. One died later. The villagers were still confused and surprised with what they had seen. Soon, videos of the kangaroos in India went viral. How on earth are kangaroos turning up in West Bengal? A Twitter user asked. Tabal Ray, the chief wildlife warden of West Bengal, tells the BBC that the animals were most likely left in the open during an anti-smuggling operation by his team. When he received a tip-off that some exotic animals are being smuggled into the state, he immediately alerted his team. Acting quickly, the officer started checking vehicles along one of the main routes to enter the state. The smugglers probably got wind of it and abandoned the animals on the highway, Mr. Ray said. They probably ended up here from private breeding farms in Southeast Asia. Agni Mitra, deputy director of the Regional Wildlife Control Bureau, told the BBC, adding that smugglers often bring non-native exotic animals to India's border states through Myanmar. Here's a Twitter post from FOPS India, that's Forest and Wildlife Protection Society, FOPS. Hours after 2 injured kangaroos were rescued from near Gijildoba in West Bengal's Jalpaiguri district Friday night, 2 more were spotted at the Farabari the Pali area in the Dabgam Forest range Saturday, sending forest officials into a tizzy. Alright. India's Anti-Smuggling Intelligence Agency, the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, or DRI, said that the country has seen a rise in demand for exotic animals. Animals from Bangkok, Malaysia, and other top tourist destinations in Southeast Asia are smuggled into the country and make their way to cities across India, it added. Mr. Mitra said smugglers use the northeastern corridor to bring in exotic animals ranging from a golden-headed lion tamarin, an endangered primate found only in Brazil, to threatened lemurs. Indian wildlife officials often find that they can't prosecute these smugglers or traders because India's Wildlife Protection Act doesn't protect non-native exotic animals. Customs officials have the authority to stop people from transporting wild animals if they don't have proper permits, but they find it difficult to track illegal trade through porous borders. The DRI said that since there is a ban on trade of native animal species, smugglers have shifted to exotic species, which has led to disastrous global environmental consequences. Alright. Wildlife activists say owning an exotic pet is considered prestigious, a trend that has only become more popular in recent years. A little while back, zebras were seized in Bangladesh, which were destined for a private zoo in India. Shiba Brato Gotch, an activist with the group World Animal Protection, said people are doing crazy things. Indians have long had a liking for exotic animals. In June 2020, India's Ministry of Environment, Forest, and Climate Change announced a voluntary disclosure scheme asking people to declare their exotic pets. It said pet owners without proper documentation would not be prosecuted. The government wanted to develop an inventory of exotic live species in the country and streamline important procedures. And by early 2021, the government received 32,645 disclosure applications, which listed exotic animals such as critically endangered lemurs, iguanas, macaws, and even kangaroos, reported India Spend, a data analyst website. Wildlife officials said that despite an uptick in the number of exotic animals being brought into the country as pets, there was still no effective legislation to monitor the trade. In 1976, India adopted the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species, or CITES, an agreement ratified by 180 countries which protects and monitors the trade of endangered plants and animals. But the country is still not given the multilateral treaty any teeth. It can't be implemented under Indian law. Lawmakers are reviewing an amendment to India's Wildlife Protection Act, which could bring exotic flora and fauna and other species protected by cities' provisions under wildlife authorities. But Mr. Gosh is skeptical of its impact. Say I am a forest warden and I am your friend, and you have some rare primates from Brazil that you want to keep in your private zoo. You can very well just bribe your way through and get your permit, he explains. A lot of zoos, unfortunately, are becoming a part of this network, where traders and breeders work together to buy animals, sometimes non-native, exotic ones, Mr. Gosh said. In April, 2 men were arrested when a red kangaroo was found in their truck during a routine police check on a highway close to the West Bengal's border with the northeastern state of Assam. The men told forest officials they had handed these kangaroos at a farm in Mizoram, another state in the northeast, to be taken to a zoo in the central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh. They produced a supply order from the zoo, and the zoo even confirmed it, Mr. Mitra said. The zoo's curator told the news website that they had been offered the consignment as a gift. Clearly, this is a case of smuggling, and the supply order was the name of a farm in Mizoram which does not even exist, Mr. Gosh said, explaining that under city's provisions, protected animals have to be declared on a government website. There is no declaration of any kangaroos from any farm in Mizoram in government records, Mr. Mitra said. Meanwhile, the two kangaroos, Alex and Xavier, rescued by forest officials, are being treated in the Bengal Safari Park and are making good progress. They have some mesoatrophy, which is common in kangaroos, and they are squeezed into small spaces while being smuggled, Mr. Ray explained. If they feel at home, maybe we can display them to the zoo go in public. But they have to spend their life in the zoo. We cannot release them into the wild, as India is not their natural habitat. So I know I was talking a little quickly there, but again, these links we found on the official Discord server. So yeah, I just want to make sure that we could get to the end of this before timing out. So very interesting. These three articles are very, very interesting. So I mean, I think it's why don't you just open if you legalize it for, private zoos, it should not have an environmental impact. You know what I mean? Because if you legalize it for certain zoos and they say they can't enforce it, you want to enforce it because of bribery. Well, my dude, bribery is rampant. Not rampant, but anybody has a potentiality to be bribed. I mean, some people are unbribable, like myself, but there are always going to be those that are bribable and those that are not bribable. That's the risk you take. But by enforcing it, you minimize the chances of it happening. But I think that again, smuggling. I don't want to say smuggling, but I think bringing exotic animals into like a private zoo, as long as they can prove that they are, that it was legally purchased from a legal, breeder or what have you, and that they can actually take care of the animal properly, not just food and environment and all that, but medical care and all that. Then, or they have access to somebody that can, take like a vet that can take care of the animal if need be, medical wise and all that. Then I feel like it should not be a problem. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's going to be this podcast episode. Hopefully you have liked it. If you have, please go ahead and share this with your friends, your family, your coworkers, anybody and everybody. So stay tuned, stay awesome. Thank you so much for listening to On the Table Podcast, where everything's on the table, nothing's off record, and this is the worst podcast you'll never listen to. See you next time.